I'm the CEO for YWCA Edmonton.
Perfect. And so YWCA does have this new support group for domestic violence survivors. Now, the numbers for 2020 calls to EPS up 18%. We knew that there were more calls, but seeing that number, what's that like for you?
It's really hard, and it was something we knew as soon as last March when the first kind of lockdown happened, that we were really concerned this was going to happen. It's, with families being at home, there's extra stresses in family households over financial things, people just being cooped up in homes. We were just really worried that this would lead to more violence. And so these numbers are devastating because, those are what is reported. Often, many people don't even go to the police. So it could be much higher. And it's just something we knew as a community that we'd have to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. Because some of those factors, you're at home and not going out to work, your coworkers aren't maybe seeing the signs.
Yes.
And there was also increased in severity of the calls to police.
Yeah, and that's really troubling, like strangulation and things that, police are really, when they're being called, they're going to homes and seeing some pretty devastating things. And it's as a community and as the YWCA Edmonton, we just know that these supports, having, more mental health supports, etc., are just imperative to helping particularly women and their families break this cycle of violence, because it's, and even before the pandemic, Alberta already had one of the highest rates of domestic violence. So we were not a province that, was doing well. We had a lot of challenges on this, and we needed to help particularly women and families. So devastating. We need to come together as a community and address this. And the most important thing is just shining a very bright light on the fact that it's happening. I think a lot of people in our community either are ignorant about it or just, head in the sand a bit. And so shining a very bright light on the fact that this can happen in any home. It does not matter who you are. It affects all families. We need to just make sure that, and people know that if they ask for help, they will get it.
Mm-hmm. And talk to me a little bit about this new support group, new program that adds on to other supports that YWCA already has for people who are going through this.
Yeah, it's called Towards Healing. And thanks to the generosity of the city of Edmonton, it is a weekly support group for women who who face domestic violence. And it's a safe space for women to come together every week to share stories, to listen to one another, and also for the YWCA Edmonton to support these women with more information and knowledge about everything from intergenerational trauma to red flags in a relationship. So we're really excited about it. We can accommodate up to 15 women in the first group, and it starts this month. And we do just hope that this is a start of these, creating these safe spaces so that all women who are, survivors of domestic violence have a place to go and find so that they're never feeling like they're alone.
Mm-hmm. And again, when we're talking about domestic violence, it doesn't need to just be physical violence as well.
And that is so important to talk about. It isn't just physical, as you said. It's, often it can be financial, people withholding money. It can be psychological, just someone constantly putting someone down and making them feel smaller. So we as a community, again, need to shine a very bright light on this abuse. It is prevalent in our community, and it's not always what we see in the movies or on TV where it's women being physically hit. There's many, many layers to this. And again, as the YWCA Edmonton, it's really important for us to be able to shine that bright light on these issues and to talk about it openly so that not only survivors can understand what abuse truly is, but also their family members, their coworkers, their neighbors, so that they can identify it and support these women and their families.
Mm-hmm. For someone who's interested in this support group, what are the details? It is over Zoom?
It's over Zoom right now until, during the pandemic. Go to YWCA Edmonton's website for more information. It's a weekly program. And again, it will be running all year. And so there will be different, you'll meet different women. We'll have our, staff members from the YWCA Edmonton to facilitate it. And there will also be an opportunity to, do art projects and other things, and just come together and learn and be supported. So I'm really excited about it. During the pandemic, all of our counseling services has gone over Zoom or telephone, and it's one-on-one. So for it to be able to open this up and create these spaces is just so exciting. And I hope that this is just the start of, doing a lot more of this.
And now, when it comes to also shining a light on domestic violence for the general public, what should you be looking out for in your coworkers and neighbors, and what should you be doing to support your community?
Well, just really paying attention, during the pandemic. And this is why we were really concerned there would be more, cases, because we're just not seeing our neighbors or our friends or our family like we used to. So, really watching for signs of being someone withdrawing from, conversation, or, just kind of not being there. And so really that's why we've asked a lot, family members, coworkers, to really check up on people within your circle, even neighbors, just checking in on your neighbors, to make sure that things are okay. There's a lot of financial stress, like I said earlier, in a lot of families right now, and that is often a trigger for violence. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, it can lead to that. So just kind of watching how family members are doing, if people are losing jobs, if people are stretched, and kind of making sure that they're okay. So generally just paying attention, and it is harder than ever because of the fact we're not seeing each other physically, but picking up the phone or getting on a Zoom call, or just doing whatever you can, going for a socially distanced walk, catching up with that person and asking them questions, and detailed questions, and being there when if they do disclose, being there and supporting them, and then getting them the supports that they need if it leads to that.
hmm And for someone who is dealing with domestic violence, what is your first recommendation to them, and what are the supports out there?
There's so many in the community, and that's, either even coming to YWCA Edmonton. We've got lots of supports on our website to get started. Calling a women's shelter if you need it. Your call for help will always be answered. You are loved. This is not your fault. We are here to support you as a community. Even in a pandemic, we will always find supports for you and your family. And it's just making that call, or talking to a family member or a trusted friend to get that ball rolling for you. You do not have to live in a home where there is abuse. We need to end this cycle of abuse. And often women feel so alone when this happens. And again, as the YWCA Edmonton and other organizations community, we do not want you to feel alone. We are here for you, and we will help you break this cycle of violence and get better.
Mhm. Is there anything else when we're talking about this that you really think Edmonton needs to hear today?
Just the fact that, it's like I said, that this can happen in any family, it can happen in any community. This is not something that just happens on TV or in the movies. This is something that you will know someone who's faced abuse like this, whether it's psychological, physical, or a financial abuse. It happens. And so just being open to the fact that everyone has a role to play to help people get help, and that you are, just paying attention and making sure that you're looking for those signs. Like I said, Alberta has already, before the pandemic, had one of the worst rates of domestic violence in the country. So we were already facing big challenges. And when you put the pandemic on top of it and the economic downturn, we knew that these numbers were going to rise, and they have been more severe than we anticipated. That is terrible news. And I'm very concerned post-pandemic that we will see these rates even climb more, because when the pandemic's over and the economic reality hits many families, and just that long-term, digging out of the pandemic, that many families will, this financial, particularly the financial stresses, will start, becoming a lot more imperative in families. And so we know that we're in this for the long term, that we have to be here as a trusted, provider of mental health counseling, to make sure that we are there in many places, in many ways as we can. But as a community, understanding that, yes, we're in the middle of this crisis, but post-pandemic, we need to be aware that this is going to be likely a very long-term situation that we all need to address.
And that's why it's one group for now, but it could grow to more groups in the future.
I would really, I think it's needed. I'm sure that, we have a long wait list for our mental health counseling. So I'm assuming that we will also face this with this group. And, this is, we're trying this out. We'll see how it goes. Obviously it would require more funding, but I think that the long-term benefits of being able to break that cycle of violence by providing these support groups is essential. It creates a healthier, happier, safer community. And I think that's great for everyone.